So this week we have a combination of the end of one chapter and the beginning of a new one. We'll finish up the killing of Prolumbusura. And as we enter into chapter 20, the descriptions of the autumn season and the rainy season and the autumn season. As I go ahead creating the course materials, I see that there's a new noticeable theme that's developing in this next section, where it's describing first the atmosphere of Vrindavan, and then we'll get into some of the more intimate and famous pastimes of Krishna with the lifting of Govardhan Hill, the Rasa dance, all these things. So these are like preliminary chapters that will lead up to that. So let us dive in and enter into them. This is still January 2025, lessons 5 and 6, the end of chapter 19, Devouring the Forest Fire. Samapriya, do we have some readers?
Yes, we have lots of readers.
Jai.
That's Hare Krishna, everyone. Nice to see everyone here today on this freezing cold day in Florida. Hare Krishna. Let's start today with Vega. Vegavati, would you please read for us, my darling? You have to unmute first. Still not unmuted. On the bottom of your screen.
I got it. No,
that
part of the screen was hidden from me.
Oh.
Now I got it.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll be happy to read.
Thank you.
Srimad Bhagavatam 10:19, 1 and 2 from Sharata Darshini. Shukadev Goswami said, while the cowherd boys were completely absorbed in playing, their cows wandered far away. They hungered for more grass, and with no one to watch them, they entered a dense forest. Passing from one part of the great forest to another, the goats, cows, and buffalo eventually entered an area overgrown with sharp canes. The heat of a nearby forest fire made them thirsty, and they cried out in distress. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This chapter describes how Krishna saved the cowherd boys, from a great fire in the Munjaranya forest while their eyes were closed. Upon opening their eyes, they found themselves at the base of the Bandira banyan tree. While the boys were absorbed in playing, the cows wandered far away into a dense forest, driven by their greed for more grass.
Good. Go on.
Okay. Not seeing the cows before them, Krishna, Rama, and their cowherd friends suddenly felt repentant for having neglected them. The boys searched all around but could not discover where they had gone. Then the boys began tracing out the cows' path by noting their hoof prints and the blades of grass the cows had broken with their hooves and teeth. All the cowherd boys were in great anxiety because they had lost their source of livelihood. Within the Munja forest, the cowherd boys finally found their valuable cows who had lost their way and were crying. Then the boys, thirsty and tired, herded the cows onto the path back home. The Supreme Personality of Godhead called out to the animals in a voice that resounded like a rumbling cloud. Hearing the sound of their own names, the cows were overjoyed and called out to the Lord in reply. Suddenly, a great forest fire appeared on all sides, threatening to destroy all the forest creatures. Like a chariot driver, the wind swept the fire onward, and terrible sparks shot in all directions. Indeed, the great fire extended its tongues of flame toward all moving and non-moving creatures.
Okay. So how many people do you think cried out for Krishna in California?
I'm sure some did, but
yes, some did. Definitely.
Not enough.
Not enough. Okay. You have something to say about this? Because we're going to read Prabhupada's Krishna book after. I just wondered if you had some comment on this before we read
I
that.
did. There was one place where it said that Krishna, Rama, and all the other boys felt like that they had neglected the cows. And I thought it was sweet that Krishna was really being like an ordinary boy, as if he had neglected them.
Right.
I really appreciated that when he called them by name, each one of the cows understood their own name and that Krishna was calling them and then responded to him. It wasn't just like a whole herd mooing. They actually he has a relationship with each one of his 900,000 of them.
Right. And we'll read later how when each cow called out, Krishna responded to them individually. That was kind of far out. All right, well, let's go on reading, and we'll have more of a discussion after this. Acharya, would you like to read the next one?
Sure, I'd love to. Krishna book from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 19, text 1 through 5. While Krishna and Balaram and their friends were engaged in the pastimes described above, the cows, being unobserved, began to wander off on their own, entering farther and farther into the deepest part of the forest, allured by fresh grasses. The goats, cows, and buffalo traveled from one forest to another and entered the forest known as Ishikatavi. This forest was full of green grass, and therefore they were allured. But when they entered, they saw that there was a forest fire, and they began to cry. On the other side, Balaram and Krishna, along with their friends, could not find their animals, and they became very aggrieved. They began to trace the cows by following their footprints, as well as the path of eaten grass. All of the boys were fearing that their very means of livelihood, the cows, were now lost. Soon, however, they heard the crying of their cows. Krishna began to call the cows by their respective names with great noise. Upon hearing Krishna calling, the cows immediately replied with joy.
Okay, we have to read the next one. We'll do it a little bit different, and then we're going to talk about it.
Krishna book, text 6 through 10. But by this time, the forest fire surrounded all of them, and the situation appeared to be very fearful. The flames increased as the wind blew very quickly, and it appeared that every movable and immovable would be devoured. And it appeared that everything, movable and immovable, would be devoured. All the cows and the boys became very frightened, and they looked towards Balaram the way a dying man looks at the picture of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They said, "Dear Krishna and Balaram, we are now burning from the heat of this blazing fire. Let us take shelter of your lotus feet. We know you can protect us from this great danger. Our dear friend Krishna, we are your intimate friends. It is not right that we should suffer in this way. We are all completely dependent on you, and you are the knower of all religious life. We do not know anyone except you."
Okay, so this is what I wanted to get to. This sentence, but you want to put it back to the verse for a moment? Last one. This last part, our dear friend Krishna, read from there.
Our dear friend Krishna, we are your intimate friends. It is not right that we should suffer in this way. We are all completely dependent on you, and you are the knower of all religious life. We do not know anyone except you.
Boy, when I read this, it really went right into my heart because of that reference of intimate friends. What can you say about this, Acharya?
What can I say about it? I don't know.
Well, are you an intimate friend to Krishna?
No, I'm struggling just to not be an enemy. So
Well, that's
ask
good
me in some
too.
future life.
But this is so emotional. Our dear friend, we are your intimate friends, and therefore you should protect us.
Yeah.
It's just
I like that logic and argument the cowherd boys are using. And also, generally, very generally speaking, we may say, oh, you don't want to pray for yourself or for your own benefit or for your own protection. But if you have nothing but Krishna, if Krishna is your all in all, then it's the most natural thing. Whether, you know, the Indra's pouring the rains and the cows are all, you know, asking Krishna to protect them, or the demons are coming and the Brijabasis are crying out, you know, Krishna,
No,
Krishna,
well, what do
Mahabaho,
you
save us.
what do you mean it's not? I mean, that's an interesting point. You said it's not natural to pray for yourself, but I don't know any living entity. If somebody came like this, that there's a reaction. But that's personalism, and
Right.
not only praying. One person was praying for
Well,
himself.
it
Everybody together. Go on.
is personalism, but my point is that in the conditional stage, it's not motivated by exclusive devotion for Krishna. But in a case like this, it is. Therefore, it's the
Okay.
most natural thing. That
Oh,
who are you going to approach? There's no one else but Krishna.
right.
And because
Okay.
you know that Krishna is your all in all, you're also confident that he'll. And this is what this is. Where is that from? Is that one of the items of the 10 items of surrender?
Yeah, a total
Always being
dependence on
confident.
Krishna.
Yeah,
Complete.
that you're
Yeah.
completely dependent on
Good.
Krishna, and
Okay.
you're always confident of Krishna's
Then it is
protection.
natural.
Then it's the most
Wonderful.
natural
Okay,
thing.
so good.
But in the
Very good.
neophyte stage, we do also approach Krishna, save us, and that's also right and correct. But it may not be in exactly the same
It's a
way as
beginning.
Brijabasis.
It's the beginning, right? Of course, it's not like the Brijbasis. Nandaji, thank you. Nanda.
Well, what gets confusing is in the Bhagavatam and different people's prayers, there's different emphasis on the mood. Now, take this reaction here and take Queen Kunti's reaction. She didn't pray for protection, and she's glorified for that. She's glorified for praying for calamities to come again and again because she's remembering Krishna. So it's just interesting, the nuances of applied theology, or however you want to.
Okay, I have a question here. What do you think she's praying for to Krishna during these calamities? What would be the natural thing?
That she said she's praying to remember Krishna because she appreciates the remembrance of Krishna. No? You
But
think-
Yes,
But
she
was it-
said, she said, bring those calamities on again and again.
okay,
So that
but
we can
why?
remember you.
Why? So then why she just remember, oh, here's a calamity, I'll remember Krishna? No, it's because she's desperately, this is so heightened emotion. This is the way it looks to me anyway. Heightened emotion. And as Acharya was talking about the 6 processes of surrender, one of them is to understand that Krishna is your protector.
Yeah, but who does not suffer?
Who does not suffer? Good question. Everyone suffers.
I can still remember in whatever year it was, the 80s, Rameshwar wrote the Sankirtan newsletter, and he was talking about the mother of God even suffered. She was
Yeah, right.
so whatever. Okay, I'll finish this sentence. Isn't it a neophyte understanding, or okay, to think I shouldn't suffer? I'm
No, I don't think I shouldn't suffer got into this picture.
Krishna, therefore I shouldn't suffer. And I don't mean me, I mean the coward boys, you know what I mean?
Oh, well, that's a whole different Ross. We're back down here to the 6 processes of surrender. And then what you were talking about, actually, Nanda, that's the thing that I was just drawn to this. We're your intimate friends. It's not right that we should suffer. Help us, Krishna. That's like a contemplation. And then I'm saying, okay, I'm not intimate. Am I intimate? And then I went off into the whole thing,
I was thinking of that when I was reading this earlier and hearing it, of the imprisoned kings, the kings that Jarasandha had imprisoned. Vegavati is saying yes, because they had that same more or less reaction. How come while to Krishna, in the messenger who went to Krishna in Indraprastha, they said, how come Jarasandha's disobeying your rule and he's torturing us, and we're your devotees, and we're suffering because of Jarasanda's torture.
Oh, wow. It looks like everyone's asking the same question. Hare Krishna. Okay, wait a second on that. Acharya?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw in one more angle on Queen Kunti's prayer because she also prayed. I can't remember the whole verse. It starts Asat Sabaya Vanavasa Kritrita, where she lists all of the sufferings that her and her sons went through,
Again and again.
being mistreated in the assembly and in the forest and burned trying to be burned. So she had so much practical experience throughout her whole life of calamity coming and Krishna saving them. So because of that, she was able to pray because she
Now
knows
there.
she has personal experience what happens. So let the calamities come because then Krishna will come.
But it doesn't say, oh, here comes Krishna. There's emotion involved.
Sure.
There is a desperate emotion that Queen Kunti is praying, let these calamities come again and again. But as those calamities are coming, she's praying to Krishna, please come and save us. I mean, according to these 6 processes of surrender, that save us is total dependence on Krishna, understanding that he's your protector and
Yes,
maintainer.
absolutely. I'm just saying that she's had a lot of experience of calamities coming, and she saw
Yes,
that the
she has,
result
she
was
has.
always Krishna's here to save us. So she had that past experience. So that sort of enabled her or inspired her to pray the way she did to ask for
I
calamities.
see. Just a second. Tisha, 1 second, Angel. Nanda, can you respond? What is your feeling about this?
No, I don't have a counter argument. No, I don't have a response right now. Thank you.
Okay, no, because I'm seeing you like digest this, trying to get. Okay, all right, Tisha.
Hare Krishna, everybody. And then Vegavati wants to say something, but I'm just wondering, what are the 6 processes of surrender? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Okay, who wants to say? Accepting everything. Okay, I'll give 2. Accepting everything that is favorable to Krishna's service and rejecting everything that is unfavorable. And this is in the Nectar of Devotion. And you can look under surrender or the 6 processes or something. It's in Nectar. It's in many places it's written. And accept Krishna as your protector. Accept Krishna as your maintainer. What's the other 2 last ones? Maintainer and protector. Somebody help me here. What's the last 2? Patti. Oh, here he goes. He got it. This is, we have another new devotee who is actually doing a lot of service. AI. Don't get scared. Okay, who wants to read it? Tisha, why don't you read this?
Okay, the 6 symptoms of surrender are accepting what is favorable, accepting everything that is good for devotional service, rejecting what is unfavorable, giving up everything that is bad for devotional service, trusting in protection, believing that Krishna will always protect you, identifying with devotees, feeling a connection with Krishna's devotees, feeling dependent, feeling unable to do anything without Krishna's help, feeling inferior, thinking of yourself as inferior to Krishna.
Well, here, I'm going to correct AI a
No,
little
it's
bit.
actually humble, yeah.
Humble. Want to be meek and humble. Meek and
Okay.
humble at all times. Feeling
That's awesome.
So
Thank you.
meek and humble.
There's another verse that I wanted to kind of bring
Famous
in
one.
at this point. It's this one here. It's a famous verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami's explanation to how devotees, especially because we're coming into this point, as I mentioned earlier, and we've been doing it for some time now in this 10th canto, specific, it's this. Seva sadhaka rupena. Rupa means a form. A sadhaka is a practitioner. So one should perform seva as a practitioner in this form outwardly. Siddha Rupena Chatrahi. Chatrahi means consciousness within, but one should consciously consider their eternal nature, their eternal swarup. This develops further as one grows, but it's basically understanding we're eternal servants of Krishna.
That's it.
But then the specifics in regard to these discussions that we're talking now fine tunes it, just like Nanda just mentioned that there are a lot of nuances to these different prayers of people we're reading about in Srimad Bhagavatam. But Lord Chaitanya is instructing Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami is writing in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Tad Bhava Lupsana Karya Vrajloke Anusarata, that one should follow in the footsteps, develop the bhavas, understand the emotions of the Vrajloka, the people who live in Vrindavan, and Anusarata, follow them. Follow in the footsteps of a particular servant or servants of Krishna in Vrajloka. So it's actually a very applicable, good verse to learn and understand these instructions, especially from Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because there is a difference in the subtle heartstrings of the residents of Vrindavan and the residents outside of Vrindavan. For example, Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj in their vision of Krishna, and Devaki and Vasudeva, who live outside of Vrindavan, and their vision of Krishna, because they saw Krishna appear in the prison as Vishnu. So all the time they know who he is as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Throughout their entire relationship with him, even as their son, there's still that background understanding. Whereas Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yasoda, she saw the whole universal form in his mouth and got bewildered. And then her maternal love was so overpowering and dominant that the whole thing dissipated due to that intimate exchange. So it's one of the themes that's so nicely brought out in the 10th canto and emphasized by the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya and philosophy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Nadaji, did you want to say something?
I wanted to clarify that these are in those 6 symptoms of surrender, and this is the original print. I happen to have a few of those.
Oh,
320. Page
wonderful.
320, the 6 symptoms of surrender. And it always struck me as, why are the 6 symptoms of surrender all the way in the back of the book? Anyway, they're in the Ways of Meeting Krishna. That's the name of the chapter. Ways of Meeting Krishna, page 320.
It's also quoted in the CC, and I put a link to it in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thakur Murariji, are you ready to read for us?
Krishna and dear devotees.
Okay, Krishna, okay, is that where we are? Yeah, here we are.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, I'm sorry for your cold weather. I'm 67 degrees here. So I'm a little bit nicer than you guys. So you have my sympathy, Hare Krishna. Okay, so
Thank you.
Yes, Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 19, 11, and it's Sarata Darshini. Shukadeva Goswami said, hearing these pitiful words from his friends, the Supreme Lord Krishna told them, just close your eyes and do not be afraid. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. The boys, and this quote, the boys should not see me swallowing the fire. It should be done without anyone seeing. Since my friends are so hot and tired, I should place them under the cool shade of the beautiful Mandira tree. End of quote. And concerned in this way, Krishna said, just close your eyes and don't be afraid. The coward boys replied, you must be joking. How can we escape from the forest fire just by closing our eyes? Krishna said, do not fear. Today I will use another means to protect you. Wow.
Oh, sorry. You go on.
Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 19, and it's 12 to 13 and Sarada Darshini. All right, the boys replied. and immediately closed their eyes. Then the Supreme Lord, the master of all mystic power, opened his mouth and swallowed the terrible fire, saving his friends from danger. The court boys opened their eyes and were amazed to find not only that they and their cows had been saved from the terrible fire, but that they had all been brought back to the Mandir tree. We shall now talk about the Thakur. The fire became a small drop on Krishna's tender hand, and then as Yogadisha, the supreme control of all mystic power, he drank it. In the word Yogadishu, Yoga refers to Yogamaya, and Adisha means the master. Therefore, Krishna, the master of Yogamaya, swallowed the fire in his mouth. Mukina, with his mouth, can also mean method. By what method did Krishna swallow the fire? Since Krishna is yoga addition, he used the method of yoga and employed the Aishvara Shakti to swallow the fire. The word Chicharat indicates the boys were suffering from intense fatigue, hunger, and thirst. Krishna delivered them from these difficulties by immediately bringing them under the cooling shelter of the Mandira tree.
That is something. This is okay. Tell us about how Krishna. We sometimes we pray to God, to Krishna, thinking he doesn't really know what we're going through. And here's how is this? This is manifest here. The Krishna knew everything. He knew exactly what to do. He's figuring it out. Everything. So, what do you think about that? What does that have to do with faith?
Okay, so I was thinking about the past time of the aggressor demon, wherein that they realized that it was not some nice spot that they enjoy, but a serpent. I think they were real, but they say, hey, all right, Krishna will protect, so we go in a way. Contrasting to this, when Krishna said, just close your eyes and I protect, they said, what do you mean? So in one sense, with the aggressive demon, they say, okay, Krishna's here, so he take care of us, so let's go merrily, although they know there was some danger.
Right.
But in this sense, Krishna said, close your eyes. I said, what do you mean? I mean, should we just close our eyes and take care of it?
Right.
So they said Krishna is okay, but in this sense, maybe it's a leela in the sense that they were questioning. They knew that Krishna is our power, he can do anything. But then
Nice comparison.
just close their eyes,
Very good. Yeah.
I that one already. Yeah. The difference in the leela. Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Anyone have a comment on that?
Yeah.
Does everyone understand what he did? We see two different reactions of Krishna. One is of the cowherd boys to Krishna. One is, Krishna's going to protect us when they walk into the mouth of Aghasura. And then the next one, you mean to tell me close our eyes and then the fire's going to go away? They had a hard time believing that. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means that they're thinking Krishna is their buddy. He's an ordinary person. Because if they didn't think of him, and it's stressed other places in this pastime, if they didn't think of him, if they thought of him as the supreme Godhead, this rasa, this friendship, would not be able to develop.
I think ordinary person might be a little stretch. They know he's special.
Oh, demigod! They thought, but
that
Vishwanath said
that will be later in this chapter. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's acting like a demigod then. But then Vishwanath says the boys thought, that means we're demigods too. How cool! It's very interesting. Okay, let's go on with thank you, Thakur Murariji. Manvantara, would you like to read?
Krishna book. The personality of Godhead heard the appealing voices of his friends, and casting a pleasing glance over them, he began to answer. By speaking through his eyes, he impressed his friends that there was no cause for fear. Then Krishna, the supreme mystic, the powerful personality of Godhead, immediately swallowed up all the flames of the fire. The cows and boys were thus saved from imminent danger. Out of fear, the boys were almost unconscious, but when they regained their consciousness and opened their eyes, they saw that they were again in the forest with Krishna, Balaram, and the cows. They were astonished to see that they were completely free from the attack of the blazing fire, and that the cows were saved. They secretly thought that Krishna must not be an ordinary boy, but some demigod.
Go on.
Sartor Darshini, text 14. When the cowherd boys saw that they had been saved from the forest fire by the Lord's mystic power, which is manifested by his internal potency, they began to think that Krishna must be a demigod. Visvanatha Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. This verse shows that though the cowherd boys had seen Krishna's amazing power, that awareness could not cover the sweetness of their Sakya Prema, ecstatic loving friendship, as was the case of Arjuna and others. Yoga Virya means the power to attain or achieve extraordinary things. The miracle of getting saved from the fire was caused by Krishna's Yogamaya Shakti. After seeing Krishna's supernatural power, the cowherd boys thought Krishna might be a demigod, since he had done something impossible for a human being. Nevertheless, the boys considered, because we are Krishna's friends, we are on the same level with him. Therefore, we must also be demigods. Thinking like this, Krishna's cowherd friends became overwhelmed with bliss.
Very nice. So what do you think about the relationship between Krishna and the cowherd boys?
Yeah, they completely trust him. But I was thinking that fear they had, that we just read, that fear that they had with the forest fire. I mean, it was pretty serious. I mean, they said they were unconscious practically. So I was thinking how when we read in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in the beginning of the introductions, and it described, I don't know what the Sanskrit word for it is, but the illusion of the ripple on the water and how material fears can jar you in a way, past inflections on the mind and things like that. I don't know how to describe it, but I was thinking that's what the boys were experiencing with the fire. When Thakur Murari was talking about Aghasura, and you had mentioned, well, how come they're different in terms of their approach to Krishna about saving them? With the forest fire, it was very real. I mean, when I say very real, I mean they didn't really understand the greatness of the snake. You know what I mean? Like they thought it was a cave. They weren't sure. But with the fire, that was like really relatable. They were scared. I don't know.
Also,
I forgot the word. When you're fearful and you get that jarring, like the ripple on the water, like it jars you. And I was thinking that's probably what they were having. But they have spiritual bodies, so I don't know if that's applicable to them.
or spiritual, yeah. Whoa, there was a lot of things in that.
Yeah.
The boys are totally absorbed in the ras of friendship with Krishna, and he is not letting them leave that. He is feeding into that. They're both relating in a very intimate way through friendship. Krishna's pastimes are inconceivable sometimes.
Acharya has his hand up.
Acharyaji, help us solve this problem.
Well, I don't know if it'll solve anything, but I wanted to read this, share this little bit. This is from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on Nectar of Devotion 1111, Anyabilashita Shunyam, that I think might shed some light on it. And he says, let's see now. In the verse, the phrase Anyabilas Sunyam has not been used. Instead, the phrase Anyabilasita Sunyam has been chosen. This means, quote, devoid of other desires which are as deep-rooted as one's nature, unquote. In death-threatening situations, a devotee may say, "Oh Lord, please save me, your devotee, now from this danger." Because it is a sudden, temporary desire, it is not harmful to his bhakti. That is because this desire arises beyond his control, opposite of his devotional nature. That desire is not his nature.
Very nice.
Oh, how
Thank you.
wonderful.
Yeah, beautiful.
That actually, Manvantaraji, you were relating. This should really help your vision of understanding that it is a natural thing, and also what we were talking about with Nanda, it's and Queen Kunti. It's natural in a frightening situation for a devotee to call out, "Krishna, save me." It's not that he's always in the position of asking Krishna to do something for him, but he is his protector. So it's natural. That's beautiful. That's really wonderful. It would be nice if you could post that somewhere so that we could all have it.
Yeah, I'll share that in the forum.
Good, because this is one of the things that I would send around the world to everybody. It's a beautiful concept. Thank you. All right, very good. Let's continue. And Tisha, why don't you read this? Read this. This is the last verse of the chapter.
Sarata Darshini, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:19, verse 15 and 16. It was now late in the afternoon, and Lord Krishna, accompanied by Balaram, turned the cows back toward home. Playing his flute in a special way, Krishna returned to the cowherd village in the company of his cowherd friends who chanted his glories. The young gopis took the greatest pleasure in seeing Govinda come home, since for them even a moment without his association seemed like 100 years. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. This verse describes the extreme bliss of the Vraja gopis headed by Radha. In terms of both quality and quantity, the gopis' love was supreme. Parama means there was nothing beyond it. The uncommon quality of one particular gopi is being described here. This gopi experienced a moment of separation from Krishna as 100 millenniums. To experience a moment as 100 yugas is the quality of Adiruddha Mahabhav, the highest state of prema, attained after proceeding through rati, prema, sneha, mana, pranaya, raga, anuraga, and mahabhav. According to Ujjvala Nilamani, only gopis such as Radha possess this type of mahabhav.
Oh my goodness. So these are describing the different levels of feeling separation from Krishna. Those words. And this verse and this purport specifically, who can say what verse it reminds you of? Very simple. What does this remind you? Who else prays like this?
Shastika, right?
Yeah, girl. Whoa, my girl did it. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. A moment feeling like 12 years or more. Excellent, Tisha. So that's it. It's natural in the soul. You're awakening it up. It's just going to all burst out. Very good for you. So this is the way Radharani prays. And this is the way Lord Chaitanya prays. And this is what we're supposed to be studying. How to love. Of course, that Mahabhav might be a little, this only Radharani and Lord Chaitanya can feel that. But just approaching that platform of love and complete surrender to Krishna. That's why we're doing all this. That's beautiful. Okay. Anyone else have something to say on this section? Because we're going to move on. Anyone? I'm so proud of Tisha, because I was thinking, whoa, this is advanced stuff. This feelings of rapture. But Lord Chaitanya came and he gave it to us. Can you imagine? It's so natural for the soul to feel this toward Krishna, if we awaken ourselves to it. Okay, Nanda, would you please read for us?
Chapter 20, the rainy season and
Thank
autumn
you.
in Vrindavan.
Thank you.
Canto 10, chapter 20, verses 1 and 2 from the Sarathar Darshini. Sukadeva Goswami continued, to the ladies of Vrindavan, the cowherd boys then related in full detail Krishna and Balaram's wonderful activities of delivering them from the forest fire and killing the demon Pralamba. The elder cowherd men and ladies were amazed to hear this account, and they concluded that Krishna and Balaram must be exalted demigods who had appeared in Vrindavan. And this is Srila Vishwanath, an excerpt from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment. After hearing about the extraordinary feats of Krishna and Balaram, the elderly Vrajavasis thought they, capital they, Krishna and Balaram, were eminent demigods. Due to their strong bond of love, they never thought Krishna and Balaram were God. These exploits simply nourished the sweetness of their relationship even more. It is not stated anywhere that their Vatsalya Bhav or parental love ever decreased a bit. This would have happened, however, if they thought these two boys were God.
Okay, before you read the next one, talk a little bit about this, because we're going to another subject.
Well, it's a really important point. This mood, of Aishvarya Bhav, of awe and reverence, love that's tinged with Aishvarya Bhav, that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord's explaining that diminishes one's feelings of intimacy. When one has that mood of awe and reverence, because the Lord is so powerful, he's so opulent, he's so almighty, he can do anything. And then, like, who am I? I can't do anything, so let me ask the Lord for everything. You know what I mean? So that diminishes that relationship of intimacy, and therefore, and so even in a few more verses, it's going to talk about how Arjuna's reaction when he saw the universal form, for a moment, it diminished his relationship with Krishna as a friend, and he got all reverential and this and that and begged for forgiveness. But actually, it's that Aishvarya Bhav, although it might appear so exalted, it's a lesser stage of intimacy with the Lord and more. In fact, I remember, I don't know how many years ago, when Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj was here in Alatra, so you can remember how long that was ago. Anyway, he was saying the goal of the Vaishnav Siddhanta, the goal of Vaishnav philosophy, is to forget that Krishna is God. That's our goal. But first, we're in the stage where we have to struggle to remember that he's God, get that down, and then forget that he's God and have an intimate relationship with him.
Yeah, which actually is, it's natural for the soul to talk to God, and that's very intimate. You know, I'm sure all of us have had moments. Krishna, please help me. Really, come on, having a conversation with Krishna. It's a very intimate thing, and I can say it now. You probably tell him things you'd never tell anyone else, because no one would understand it except for Krishna. And also, one more point, Nanda, that you can just refer to real quick, how this compares to what we just read about the cowherd boys declaring, he's my intimate friend, you're my intimate friend, how can you do this to us? So what you're talking now about comparing the reverential relationship with that intimate relationship, just a quickie on that one.
A quickie on that one. Well, that's a symptom that their love is so strong. Love is so strong that they don't even care. It's not that well, okay, and most of the time they don't even know that he's God. But not only that, but when they remember that he's God, they don't care. They don't want to know that he's God. They love him so much that even if he wasn't God, they would still love him, you know? So
Right.
I don't know if I'm hitting the point that you wanted. I think I went off on a different point. Sorry.
No, that's actually very good. That regardless of your qualification of being God and creating everything and everything comes from you. Look, and we're friends and we're playing a game. You know, they recognize that, and actually, that's our duty now to recognize and understand. We have to do two things simultaneously: recognize the opulence and the awesomeness and the complete surrender to the Supreme Lord, and at the same time develop our intimate relationship with him. And that has to be there, both of them at this point.
Yeah, but I do want to say one thing to curb your enthusiasm a tad. Sorry. But, you know, for sadhakas to go to that feeling of intimacy too early is also very detrimental.
Very good.
Detrimental. Because that's what foundational principle means. Our foundation, like a foundation to the house, has to be very, very strong to withstand all of this weight of the building, or to withstand the weight now in relation to devotional intimate relationship with withstand the weight of that responsibility or relationship. The foundation has to be very, very strong.
Very strong. So there's no offense. So we always have to know who we're dealing with here. I got to tell a story. Can I tell one story? It's a very cute story.
You can tell.
It's a very cute story. I was on my way to India, and my father met me at the airport in New York City, and he was going to, and I've told him I have to pray to Radharani, I have to pray to Krishna to get a good husband. That's what I said. And then I said, I want you to pray to Krishna. I'd already been a devotee for 13 years. And I said, I want you to pray to Krishna because I know if the prayers of the parents, that Krishna hears them. So then he said, okay. And this is a New Yorker. He says, first he's concentrating, my father's concentrating. He says, my dear Mr. Krishna. And I said, Mr. Krishna? He said, well, look who I'm talking to. I got to be polite. So that was intimacy and reverence at the same time. And lo and behold, because of his fear, somehow or another, my husband has been tolerating me for 40 years. And here we go. Uh-oh. Better move on.
Potent prayer. That was a pretty potent prayer.
That was a very potent prayer. Okay, let's go on. Now, I wanted Nanda to continue reading for a little bit. Nanda?
Okay, 10:23, verse 3 and 4 from Sarata Darshini. Then the rainy season began, giving life and sustenance to all living beings. The sky began to rumble with thunder, and lightning flashed on the horizon. The sky was then covered by dense blue clouds, accompanied by lightning and thunder. Thus the sky and its natural illumination were covered in the same way that the spirit soul is covered by the three modes of material nature. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comments, the onset of the rainy season brought new plants and sustenance to all living beings. Everything which had dried up became renewed with life. Paridhi, circumference, refers to the discs of the sun and the moon, which became especially bright. The sky began to rumble with thunder. The cloudy sky during the rainy season resembles the pure spirit soul covered by the modes of nature. Lightning is compared to Sattvagun, thunder to Rajagun, and clouds to Tamagun. Conditioned by the three modes of nature, the original brilliant nature of the pure spirit soul, Brahma, is only dimly reflected through the haze of the material attributes, Gunam.
Oh boy, this also astounded me.
This
comparison.
this topic is expanded on in the next one, so
Okay,
we
go
should
on,
read that
go on,
first.
Nanda. Why don't we just go? I want you to read these three. Go, just finish
Okay.
that and that's it.
Krishna book. This is verse 1 to 4 from Krishna book. In this way, the rainy season ensued. In India, after the scorching heat of the summer, the rainy season is very welcome. The clouds accumulating in the sky, covering the sun and the moon, become very pleasing to the people, and they expect rainfall at every moment. After summer, the advent of the rainy season is considered to be a life-giving source for everyone. The thunder and occasional lightning are also pleasurable to the people. The symptoms of the rainy season may be compared to the symptoms of the living entities who are covered by the three modes of material nature. The unlimited sky is like the supreme Brahman, and the tiny living entities are like the covered sky, or Brahman, covered by the three modes of material nature. Originally, everyone is part and parcel of Brahman. The supreme Brahman, or the unlimited sky, can never be covered by a cloud, but a portion of it can be covered. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they are only an insignificant portion of the Supreme Lord. This portion is covered by the modes of material nature, and therefore the living entities are residing within this material world. The Brahmayoti, spiritual effulgence, is just like the sunshine. As the sunshine is full of molecular shining particles, so the Brahmajyoti is full of minute portions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Out of that unlimited expansion of minute portions of the Supreme Lord, some are covered by the influence of material natures, whereas others are free.
Whoa, what huge. Oh
Lord.
my God. This is okay. So these are the comparison of the living entity's plight, of the jiva's plight, compared to nature. I think this is fantastic. How this is actually in the Bhagavatam. It is telling directly. When we look at the weather, we should be thinking of
Yeah.
our own. Or keep going, Nanda. Comment on this.
That's the thing about one of the perks of being in Florida, because the sky, if things look boring on the land, you can always look at the sky because it's always doing something amazing. So like when there's total clouds, it's hard to see. But when there's partial clouds, or when the clouds are there, but the sun is coming up behind the cloud, and the cloud is illuminated from behind by the sun, so you can see the contrast between the darkness of the cloud and the brilliance of the sun, that helps visualize and understand this example, how the living entity is covered like the clouds, but the light behind it is actually the pure living entity covered by the three modes of material nature, conditioned, cloudy, dark, this and that. But behind the pure soul, without the coverings of the cloud, is brilliant, and it's there in all of us. And some of us are covered, some of us are completely cloudy, and some of us have a little sunshine peeking through or whatever. But
We're
it's
very lucky that this Prabhupada has given us the sun. At least we know that the sun is there. And
Yeah.
now it's fun. Thank you. And this section that we're headed into is fascinating. These comparisons. Thank you, Nandaji. Okay, let's go on. And Faye, would you like to read this next? Are you able to read, Faye?
Mataji, I will try,
Okay.
but I don't know. Okay.
Okay, well, okay, and if you have to start, then Neil, you take over. Okay, go on.
Saratha Darshini, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.20, verses 5 through 6. With its rays, the sun had for 8 months drunk up the earth's wealth in the form of water. Now that the proper time has arrived, the sun began releasing this accumulated wealth. Flashing with lightning, great clouds were shaken and swept about by fierce winds. Just like merciful persons, the clouds gave their lives for the pleasure of this world. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. By its rays, the sun draws water from the earth for 8 months. When the proper time arrives, the sun returns the water. The sun's evaporating the earth's wealth of water resembles a king collecting taxes. The sun is compared to a king because it takes taxes. The sun is compared to a king because it takes and gives water, just as the king takes taxes and returns benefits to the tax-paying citizens.
Okay, Faye, thank you. Why don't we give Neil a chance too, so he gets a chance to read that final paragraph.
Thanks. Agitated by the winds, the clouds release their water on the parched earth. The clouds are compared to merciful persons. As clouds are agitated by the wind, kind-hearted persons are moved by the misery of others. Seeing that suffering, compassionate persons such as Ranti Dave sacrifice their lives or the water that keeps them alive and give it to others. This is how the cloud is compared with a compassionate person.
Does that make, do you understand that? Comparison?
A comparison between the two of how someone feels that they're compassionate, that they're going to go ahead and just release their life for someone else.
Yeah. And,
or a greater cause.
Right, good. A wealthy man sometimes will give all of his funds to help others, just like a cloud will burst and give its water to help the earth. Very good. Well, it was really nice to hear Faye speaking. Thank you, my darling. And it sounds like you're doing well, better anyway. Patiti, do you want to say something on these verses? Or
no, we can go on because now it's Prabhupada's explanation of the same.
Okay, so why don't we have Vega read this? And then Tisha can read the next.
Okay. Okay. Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, 10:25 through 6. Clouds are accumulated water drawn from the land by the sunshine. Continually for 8 months, the sun evaporates all kinds of water from the surface of the globe, and this water is accumulated in the shape of clouds, which are distributed as water when there is need. Similarly, a government exacts various taxes from the citizens, which the citizens are able to pay by their different material activities, agriculture, trade, and industry. Thus, the government can also exact taxes in the form of income tax and sales tax. This is compared to the sun drawing water from the earth. When there is again need of water on the surface of the globe, the same sunshine converts the water into clouds and distributes it all over the globe. Similarly, the taxes collected by the government must be distributed to the people again as educational work, public work, sanitary work, etc. This is very essential for a good government. The government should not simply exact tax for useless squandering. The tax collection should be utilized for the public welfare of the state. During the rainy season, there are strong winds blustering all over the country and carrying clouds from one place to another to distribute water. When water is urgently needed after the summer season, the clouds are just like a rich man who, in times of need, distributes his money even by exhausting his whole treasury. So the clouds exhaust themselves by distributing water all over the surface of the globe.
Okay, so that's clear. I want you to tell us something about your realization on this.
I was really trying hard not to comment on any current events.
You don't want to comment on anything?
Well, I mean, he's so clear about the function of government. Is to care for the citizens. You fairly take taxes from people, you give it back as public works, as welfare programs, and that's what it should be. It's very clear. That's all.
Right, nice example. I think Yudhisthira is famous as that, isn't it? And as they said, Bhante Dev, there's a story, it's been a real long time since I read it, but I think Bhante Dev did some sort of austerities. He was fasting for a long time. And then finally, just before he was about to eat his meal, the servants brought out and somebody came and, begged for something. And it was like, right in front of him, the food that was there for finally breaking his fast, and he gave that away. I forget the exact details, but the essence is there. Do you remember the details?
Well, some of them, there were several people. There was a man with dogs. He got the food. I think the dogs got the water, or maybe, and the scraps. And then a beggar came and got the water.
Oh, they kept coming. It wasn't all at once.
It was
First this, then that, then that.
Right. And it
Okay.
was not only the king, but his family members, which kind of blows your mind. But yeah, he's famous like that.
Okay, so in the same way, that's the sentiment of when Yudhisthira was and the Pandavas were exiled to the forest after the gambling match. He was a king, he was a Kshatriya, and for his whole upbringing, he'd been very charitable to Brahmins, helping them in their lives as a Kshatriya is supposed to help the Brahminical class of people. And he was feeling great distress because now he was penniless. He was emperor of the world, and all of a sudden he was in the forest with nothing. And then who was it? The sun god came and gave him the pot, Draupadi's pot.
Oh, right.
Right. So that he could cook, so that she could cook for any amount of people. And that way satisfy that desire of Yudhisthira to be beneficial for others. Life in the, what is that one that they're coining now? Live to give.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Very much so. Thanks. That's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank everybody. We're very thankful. Just to be here with everyone, we're thankful. All right. I just wanted, Tisha, before you read, let's give Neil a chance to read a little more. Neil, would you like to read the next slide?
Right, pronounce that. Sharita Darshini.
Sarata Darshini.
Sarata Darshini.
Good.
The earth had been emaciated by the summer heat, but she became fully nourished again when nourished by God of rain. Thus the earth was like a person whose body had been emaciated by
The word is emaciated, means became very thin and lacking strength. Emaciated.
By austerities, which are practices of renunciation. Austerities.
So start here again.
Okay, gotcha. Thus the earth was like a person whose body had been emaciated by austerities undergone by material purposes, but who again becomes fully nourished when he achieves the fruit of those austerities.
It's not Chakravarti Thakur.
Vishnavarti, please say it again for me. Vishwanath
Chakravarti
Thakur. In this verse, the earth being dried up by the sun is compared to a tapasvi,
That's one who performs austerities.
That's one who performs the austerities. A person doing austerities. A tapasi is rewarded by the demigods. The earth becomes sprinkled with showers of rain, just as the body of a tapasvi becomes nourished by the demigods. As the body of a person desiring material results becomes healthy on fulfilling his desires, so the earth becomes nourished by the rains. This example, however, is repugnant to the devotee striving for the ultimate goal, because austerities should be performed only for realizing the Supreme Lord.
That's very important. There are people who are performing austerities to satisfy their material senses and material life, but that's very temporary. You understand? That's very temporary. Who else can comment on that? So do you understand what that is, Neil?
I was trying to think of an example of someone who maybe put themselves in that predicament, fiction or fact. So I could kind of noodle an example of it and give it a good idea for it.
Okay. Well, Vega, did you have an example of that?
Yeah, I was going to type it in. That Gandhi, he was fasting, but for political purposes.
Yeah.
Not Krishna consciousness.
I think that's very good.
Okay.
Very good. And other people who chant 16 rounds at least, follow the principles of religion, only take prasadam, food that's been offered to Krishna. There are some austerities that we perform to help us grow spiritually. So if you're going to perform austerities, and life is filled with austerities, seriously. Everything is austere. You know, we have to get up, we have to provide for our own food. So everything, may as well do it for Krishna, since we're performing austerities anyway.
Let's hear what Thakur Murari.
Thakur.
Yes. So from time to time we hear about people who, for political purposes, they want persons in prison, they're on hunger strike because they aren't, happy with some things, or some persons do, go on hunger strike for political purposes. So, but in the Gita, Krishna says of sacrifices and chanting of the holy name, Japa. Yes. I just remember,
A+, sweetie.
Yeah.
Very good.
Now Srila Prabhupada will explain the same concept.
Okay, let's have Tisha read. Thank you, everybody.
Krishna books, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:20, verse 7. Before the rainfall, the whole surface of the globe becomes almost depleted of all kinds of energies and appears very lean. After the rainfall, the whole surface of the earth becomes green with vegetation and appears to be very healthy and strong. Here, a comparison is made with the person undergoing austerities for fulfillment of a material desire. The flourishing condition of the earth after a rainy season is compared with the fulfillment of material desires. Sometimes, when a country is subjugated by an undesirable government, persons and parties undergo severe penances and austerities to get control of the government, and when they attain control, they flourish by giving themselves generous salaries. This also is like the flourishing of the earth in the rainy season. Actually, one should undergo severe austerities and penances only to achieve spiritual happiness. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that tapasa, or penance, should be accepted for realizing the Supreme Lord. By accepting austerity in devotional service, one regains his spiritual life. And as soon as one regains his spiritual life, he enjoys unlimited spiritual bliss. But if someone undertakes austerities and penances for some material gain, it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the results are temporary and that they are desired by persons of less intelligence, not us.
Not us. Okay, what else you got to say on this verse, on this portion here, Tisha?
I just kind of chuckled that when people overtake the government, then they give themselves big salaries and they take care of themselves, but it doesn't really say they take care of the people, right?
Yeah,
And
that's true. Put it back, Patsy, if you would. Put it back to the verses so she can look. What else about austerity?
Well, just if you're going to do austerity, you should do it for spiritual benefit, not for material gain, because the material is just temporary. It's no matter how much austerity you do, if it's for material gain, it will go away.
Will go away. Good girl. That's called Vigyan. You learn from experience knowledge. This is experience knowledge. What does anyone know the first word that was uttered in the universe? What did Lord Brahma realize? That's a big hand. In the beginning of the universe.
Bodhisattva?
Oh, was it? Yeah. Everyone know? Tapa. That means performance of austerity. That means if you want something, whatever it is, you must work for it. It doesn't just come. This responsibility of performance of austerity must be there, whether it's material or spiritual. And what is the point of doing it for material things if they're temporary? Right? Very good. Anyone else? Before Acharya finishes up for us. Do you have something to say about this, Acharya or Vega?
No, not me.
Okay, this is a real good point. All right, so why don't you read?
Okay.
Oh yeah, there you go. Good.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 20, Text 8, Sarartha Darshini. In the evening twilight during the rainy season, the darkness allowed the glowworms, but not the stars, to shine forth. Just as in the age of Kali, the predominance of sinful activities allows atheistic doctrines to overshadow the true knowledge of the Vedas. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Fireflies shine forth in the evening twilight, but not the twinkling stars and planets. Similarly, in the age of Kali, atheistic scriptures become prominent. This verse also uses a negative example.
Go on.
Krishna book from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 20, Text 8. During the rainy season in the evening, there are many glowworms visible about the tops of trees hither and thither, and they glitter just like lights. But the luminaries of the sky, the stars and the moon, are not visible. Similarly, in the age of Kali, persons who are atheists or miscreants become very prominently visible, whereas persons who are actually following the Vedic principles for spiritual emancipation are practically obscured. This age, Kali Yuga, is compared to the cloudy season of the living entities. In this age, real knowledge is covered by the influence of material advancement of civilization. The cheap mental speculators, atheists, and manufacturers of so-called religious principles become prominent like the glowworms, whereas persons strictly following the Vedic principles or scriptural injunctions become covered by the clouds of this age. People should learn to take advantage of the actual luminaries of the sky, the sun, moon, and stars, instead of the glowworm's light. Actually, the glowworm cannot give any light in the darkness of night. As clouds sometimes clear, even in the rainy season, and sometimes the moon, stars, and sun become visible, so even in this Kali Yuga, there are sometimes advantages. The Vedic movement of Lord Chaitanya's, the distribution of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, is heard in this way. People seriously anxious to find real life should take advantage of this movement instead of looking towards the light of mental speculators and atheists.
No, whoa, powerful. Okay, what do you have to say about that?
It's beautiful. It's a terrific example. Prabhupada would sometimes say, quoting Aristotle, that a good analogy is one that where there are a maximum number of similarities between the things being compared. So this example of the fireflies in the rainy season and the atheists and speculators in Kali Yuga. Just a perfect, beautiful analogy. I love it. I love this whole section
Yeah.
and Light of the Bhagavat. I love that whole, and actually anywhere in the Bhagavatam, like the Paranjana story also. Of course, we accept when it's there, the literal meaning, the real life meaning of the Vedic stories and the Vedic personalities. But when these sort of analogies and metaphors are used like that, I find it very beautiful and interesting and such a great teaching tool. And this is one of them.
Wonderful. Good. We can actually learn through it in our own lives by seeing through the eyes of the scriptures.
Yeah.
Very, very, very wonderful. Before we do the last slide, which I'll ask my husband to please read and explain, does anyone else have anything to say? As Acharya was mentioning, this part of the Bhagavatam where the instructions are directly given to us through everything we see around us. It's a very, very wonderful, wonderful part of the Bhagavatam. Okay, no one has anything?
I actually haven't read Light of the Bhagavat in decades.
Yeah.
But after when I listened to your husband doing the reading before it, I said, "Oh, I have to go back and read that book again."
So nice, so nice. Thakur, Murari?
Yes, as you were saying, if you notice, there are a lot of so-called religions, so people are confused. So if you, for example, I wanted to, let's look at what religion is and the number of religions. And I was surprised there's about 12 different religions. There are major religions, which quite a number of different, Christianity, Buddhism, the world works. I was saying that some are named, for example, there's one is called Confucianism, that that guy from China, Confucius, no, not China, Confucius, yes, there was one is named after him. So there's also, so we're saying in this age, there's so-called religion where it's a name of a person's. Yes. So yeah. So that is quite important in the sense that it shows that there are examples that in real life. For example, religion is named after a person.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're seeing the connection. You're seeing the connection.
Right.
We were particularly also seeing the connection with the glowworms and those little red things compared to these idiots who are trying to speak philosophy, and we're all, and the most people are fooled by them. Oh God, we are so fortunate to hear from Prabhupada. Okay, so Pati, you want to?
Tisha has her hand up.
Oh, Tisha.
And I just saw what Acharya got a good chuckle. Murari Thakur was just saying that Confucianism, and he says, I'm a follower of Confucianism.
Oh no.
Good play on words.
Very good. Okay. We have to chant more.
What I was gonna say real quick is, being a lover of fireflies growing up in Pennsylvania, there was so many of them, and they're diminished, they're one of the little insects that, due to the environmental changes and stuff, that there's much less of them. And so if you just apply that to this analogy, even, if there's less fireflies, there's even less of people following any kind of anything at all. People are just following their own thing or whatever they're doing, because
good example.
Well, at least we have the love bugs. Aren't we happy? We have changed the fireflies to love bugs. Welcome to the Kali Yuga on Earth. Okay, thank you for that. Let's go on with our last slide. Pati, could you
this last slide, just quickly, it's a review of everything we just read in chart form. Thanks to Premananda, we'll have these through all 49 verses of this chapter because it gives a nice, easy way to kind of pick up on those analogies. First, the monsoon features are compared to, these are texts 1 through 8, which are the ones in this section we just read. The sky, covered by dense blue clouds, accompanied by lightning and thunder, is compared to the spirit soul covered by the three modes of material nature. The sun drunk up the earth's wealth, or water, for 8 months, and now, in the rainy season, released it, compared to the king, who collects taxes to be utilized for public welfare. The clouds were shaken and swept about by fierce winds. Flashing with lightning, they gave their lives to the pleasure of this world. The clouds, having accumulated all the water, released it, just as merciful persons give their lives or wealth for the happiness of society. The earth was emaciated by the summer heat, but was fully nourished again when moistened by the god of rain. Similarly, one who performs austerities for material purpose becomes emaciated, but is nourished when he achieves the results. And the one we just read now, evening darkness allowed glowworms to shine, but not the stars, because they were covered by the clouds of the season. In Kali Yuga, the predominance of sinful activities allows atheistic doctrines to overshadow the true knowledge of the Vedas. So, any comments on this this section? Because now we'll go into actually the way I've broken it down so it doesn't become too much to digest is we'll have 3 different lessons now. There'll be lessons 7 and 8 will also be the rainy season. And then in the next month, February, the first one is descriptions of autumn. It will change from the rainy season to autumn.
I think it's just remarkable how this section of the Bhagavatam is giving such pertinent instructions, and also the story of Puranjana. Now, I've been reading that as I'm getting older, and I was feeling sick, and I was reading it, and the snake is tired. It was just amazing how the Bhagavatam is actually giving clear instructions what to do in life, and how it's being compared now. Our lives are actually compared to what's going on all around us in nature. So it's brilliant. It's just wonderful. Brilliant as the sun. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Panchakalpatubhischa kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavibhyo.
Thank you for your association.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, have a good day, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Checha, Haribol Checha.
Jai Chaitya Haribol. Yes, Haribol.
Hare Krishna. I love you, my darling.
Haribol.
Haribol.